Sexual reproduction in a flowering plant. Chapter 2, Class 12. Sexual reproduction in flowering plant. Chapter 2. Here I will discuss short trick how to study easy way. I will discuss here 5 topics: flowering plants, flower part, male and female, and second pre-fertilization, third double fertilization, fourth post fertilization, and last but not least apomixis and polyembryony. First of all, we should know a flower structure, especially a typical flower structure. This is a typical flower. We should know all part of a flower. So first of all, marks that place it is a petal, 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 and a second ovary, 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 and third still, style, still, fourth stigma, 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 anther, 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 okay. That part, filament, filament, filament. This small part, sepal, sepal. Each and every part has a different work and function. It is very simple, dear student. It is a very simple if you show it in any kinds of book. In any books, you will able to find that part's work, a flower structure. And now I am going to type of flower. Okay, so first, a flower, there's a maybe male and female. First of all, a flower's male part I will discuss here. Okay, when I am talking about male part of a flower, so here try to understand in which section this male part. When we will study the male part of a flower, that is in androecium, androecium, and when we will study the female part of a flower, that is in gymnasium, gynoecium. When we will study the female part of a flower, that is the part of uh, gynecium. Gynecium. So first of all we will study the male part, that is androecium. Okay, so let's begin the male part. When I am talking about male flower part, then which part I am indicate, that part I am indicate here. Male part of a flower has two part. Male flower has a two part. Number one is anther and a second filament. We will discuss especially anther. It is the main part of a flower. If anther does not work properly, then pollination will not occurs, and if pollination not occurs, then fertilize is impossible. So all cycle of a reproduction will be stopped. Male part of a flowering plant is a two part. Male part of a flower has a two part, filament and anther. Long and slender part, long, slender and stalk part is called filament, and the head of a filament part is anther. So we will study more about anther. Here filament and anther together we will call stamen. Which is part of a male flower plant. This is the male part of a flower. This is anther. Is here anther and filament. 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 Anther and filament. Anther and filament. If we see carefully, then we can understand it that this part, the anther, is bilobed. Now we are going to study anther. This part, it is bilobed. It is bilobed. When in anther is lobe 1, 2, is lobe. If we study carefully, then we will be able to find that in each part has two lobed. In this way, which is known as theca. So a anther is bilobed. But it has four theca. Each lobe has two theca. So we can tell is lobe that dithecus. Can't we tell it? Can't we tell it that is lobe is dithecus? Because in is lobe has two theca. So when we are calling a anther bilobed, is lobed has is lobe has two theca, so we are calling it dithecus. So anther anther bilobe, anther bilobed. When anther is divided, it is also called dithecus. Dithecus. And because is it has four theca. It has four theca. For better understand, I have made a module. Here, see it. If it is a anther, then whole part is a anther. When we are going inside, first of all we get bilobed. Bilobed mean that's part. In each part has two theca. Each part has two theca. That's mean 1 and 2. So if one lobe has two theca, others lobe has two theca. So we are able to see four theca in this way. Here properly this, if you carefully see, this part is in this way. This part is in this way. Here, see it. This part is in this way. Okay, so dithecus problem solved. Dithecus and four theca problem solved. Next, we are going to study microsporogenesis. Microsporogenesis. So what is microsporogenesis? Microsporogenesis is a process. Microsporogenesis is a process produce of a pollen. A pollen no, more pollen, not a pollen, produce of pollen. Process. Microsporogenesis process. Process of produce pollen. So which part take an important role for microsporogenesis? here this part is coming out here. So we will discuss that fourth part. Okay, let's go. First of all, we have to know the inner part. First of all, we have to know the inner part of a pollen. If you don't know the pollen structure, inner part pollen structure, then how you will be able to understand how produce pollen. The process of pollen produce means microsporogenesis. So we have to know inner part of a pollen. Okay, let's go. I have told fourth theca. I forget to tell that is theca is also known as pollen sac, which takes an important role to produce pollen. So is theca pollen sac is theca known as pollen sac, which is take an important role to produce pollen. Okay, now I am going to describe the pollen sac. This is the inner structure of a anther. This is a inner structure of a anther. So now we have to mark the all place. This is connective. This is connective tissue, especially this is known as connective tissue. And outer layer of a anther is known as epidermis. And inner part of a anther, especially inner part, that means the layer after epidermis, is known as endothecium. Epidermis and endothecium takes an important role to release pollen. It takes important role to secrete pollen or helps to out pollen. And I have told that is theca is known as fourth theca. A pollen has fourth theca. Is theca is known as pollen sac. That's mean it had 4 pollen sac. Okay, now we are discuss the outer part of a pollen. Gradually we are going to inner side, and it is the middle part. Pollen sac especially a cell which helps to produce pollen. in this pollen sac pollen sacs has two layers. Pollen sac has two layers. Inner part is sporongenous tissue. Sporogenous tissue, and a second tapetum. Sporongenous tissue and tapetum. Sporongenous tissue, inner part. Genus tissue, and outer part is known as tapetum. Outer part is known as tapetum. Okay, here we can see some space between pollen sac and endothecium. Which part I am talking, that this part, this space, with this part which has some space, this space between endothecium and tapetum, we called it middle layer. It is the full structure of a anther. For better understanding, you may see this part. Now I will talking about microsporogenous tissue. It takes an important role to produce pollen. Diploid. First of all, a sporogenous tissue, a cell to n, that is diploid. It is divided and produce 4n. That's mean from a cell